At the beginning of the session, I came over and introduced myself and shook your hand.
You did.
If I had stolen $4,000 out of your pocket, would you hunt me down like a wild animal?
I think it'd be my wife that would go at you pretty hard. Yeah.
Well, that's what the taxpayers are losing in this country every single year to fraud. Think about that. Every single person who pays income taxes in this country is getting robbed $4,000. And when we sit here in Washington, D.C., and we say all this technical conversations, and we say, well, it's not just Minnesota, this happens everywhere, as if that's okay. In the business world, they call that institutional rot, when you can't even realize how bad your actions are because it's not our money. If it were our money, we wouldn't even accept, you wouldn't accept $4,000. We're accepting, by estimates, $500 billion every single year. So you mentioned, Mr. Talcove, and I'm picking on you because you said that what the American people want is the kindness and generosity of a nation. Is that correct? You said
Yes.
that? But they actually got stupidity and corruption. Isn't that more accurate?
They are not getting what they paid for.
They voted for kindness and generosity and got stupidity and corruption. And Mr. Koran, I'd ask you over in Minnesota, because obviously we're talking about your state here, just a simple outsider's point of view here. The federal government gave Minnesota a lot of money. Gives every state a lot of money. So I would say this to my colleague from New Jersey. Why would we not have the state be on the hook for the money that was lost in fraud? I mean, if I handed you money and said, hey, spend this to do X, and you wasted it, you allowed people to steal it, why would we not charge the state that money and say, hey, look, we gave you the money, you lost $12 billion, you owe it to the federal government. Why not give them a big fat IOU?
Senator, that's our greatest concern with the actions of the governor and his administration, just in the Feeding Our Future. That was $500 million. Well, we charged $330 million of it, but we haven't been able to prove any of the $500 million fed Minnesota children.
So, but again, I get all that. But why wouldn't we just tell Minnesota, you owe us some money that you did not use the way we asked you to use it?
Senator, that's our greatest concern. Our spending in Minnesota is 35% of all of our spending. $45 billion are federal dollars. One in every $3 spent.
But maybe if the taxpayers of Minnesota felt it, they'd stop electing idiots like their current governor and the current mayor. They would make changes. But right now, there's really no accountability. So I'll switch over to you, Mr. Bruner. I have a bill called the STOP Act. It says if anybody is on any kind of social welfare program, so rent assistance, finance assistance, food stamps, whatever menu of liberal wish list programs that are created that people are on, you cannot send a single solitary cent outside the United States. Does that seem logical and common sense?
It's very common sense.
What type of instrument would have to hit your head for you to think that that wasn't common sense?
I don't know. You'd have to be benefiting pretty big from the fraud.
Right. Because you'd say, well, if the U.S. taxpayer is giving somebody who's down and out money, right, we're covering you, why would you then have that person send money outside the country? That doesn't make any sense, right?
No, and it's billions of dollars.
And Mr. Hedtler-Gaudette, you said something that's, I think, things that are, and I don't know that you meant to say it. I don't know, you seem like a good person. But you said something that I think is something I would ask all my colleagues to reflect on, because we accept these kinds of statements as normal. You said, obviously, you don't like the DOGE effort. That was crystal clear. You weren't ambiguous on your feelings towards DOGE. But you said it only saved $215 billion. Do you have $215 billion?
No.
I mean, that's a lot of money. Like if all of a sudden you woke up tomorrow morning and somebody gave you $215 billion, man, it'd be a pretty good day. And by the way, let's say that's wrong. Let's say that they miscounted and Elon didn't do the math right. Let's say it's 10x wrong. $21 billion. I'd take $21 billion. Let's say they're 100 times wrong. It's still $2 billion. And I think the commentary I think we have to do, and I think, Mr. Chairman, I think what we have to really realize as elected officials, where maybe we spend too much time here and not enough time actually talking to normal Americans, people who pay taxes don't expect us to put up with that kind of fraud, waste, and abuse. This is the second, I think, or third hearing we've had in the greater committee around waste, fraud, and abuse. We had the GAO here, and the head of the GAO basically said, hey, this has been going on so long, we've wasted $3 to $4 trillion, which is a number none of us can comprehend, by the way. We don't even know what a trillion is. We know that it would be an obscene amount of money. But the way we have almost disdain for the taxpayer, where we normalize this, where we say things like, well, let's not pick on Minnesota, everybody does fraud. If we don't actually deliver substantive changes to the American people, where very soon Republicans and Democrats get together and say, we're going to actually structurally fix this problem, there's going to be accountability. Because quite frankly, I'll end where I started with you, Mr. Talcove. If I walked over to you and took $4,000 out of your pocket, you would leave this hearing and chase me down like a wild animal. And yet for us, we're like, well, it's only $4,000. Yeah. That kind of, would you ever imagine saying something like that?
No, sir.
So I hope what comes out of this is concrete steps. It says we just will not put up with 1 cent of waste, fraud, and abuse in our programs. And I hope part of it is this accountability of the states, because the federal government doesn't administer these programs. The states do. Give the states who are doing a good job, like when Senator Scott was the governor of Florida, they do a great job. Give them motivation, and then absolutely hold the states that are ripping us off, which is what they're doing, and hold them accountable and have their voters understand that Missouri, Wisconsin, Ohio, I hope New Jersey doesn't want to pay for Minnesota's crap. That's what our voters tell me every single day. Mr. Chairman, thank you for having this hearing.